hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you! Never lose hope.
Here for a chat.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, friend!
Hello and welcome to episode 315 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, October 28th in the evening. From Gadgetan, New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Cariel, California, we've got Btag.
What up?
From Nomergon, Ohio, we've got Edelweiss.
Hello.
And from where you are, listener, we have you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also, extra special thanks to everyone that left us reviews. Really helps other people find the show. We'll read them out in the bonus that we're recording on Saturday. We'll have more to talk about with that in like a minute. And also, big thanks to all of our patrons. You know you're great. We really appreciate you. And, support us. Thank you for that. And speaking of that interview, I'll just get this out of the way. We will actually have a bonus episode releasing, I'm aiming for Monday-ish, but we're going to record on Saturday. We'll see how long it takes for me to edit it. It's going to be a duel-specific bonus episode. And we just had a near hour-long interview with Atesh Bayraktaralu, goes by Tabayrak on Twitter, who was one of the designers on Duels. So we just talked to him for nearly an hour. And it was dope. It was cool. So we're going to have a Duels episode coming soon, and we'll also read out the reviews and do another raffle and all that stuff. So, bonus things. But for now, let's talk Life and Ladder, because we've got a lot of news to cover, so we're going to book right through this. Btag, how you doing, man?
Doing all right. Played a little bit of Pirate Warrior today in Standard. It was much better than Big Warrior in Standard. I enjoyed it a lot more and won more games, so that was fun. Play a little bit of Battlegrounds, got a couple wins. Those are always fun. Played a little bit of Duels. Recent runs have not gone as well as the other runs we're doing, but probably talk about that a lot more on Saturday. So really looking forward to the Duels episode on Saturday. I think there's a ton to talk about, and it's a format that kind of goes under the radar that a lot of people should definitely be trying out.
Agreed. Edelweiss, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, I got everyone to level 30 except Draxus in Mercs. I'm very close for Draxus, but not quite there yet. And now that I know that it's possible, apparently the next step is to max everyone.
Yeah, it's, I know that two people that I know, Soddle and Electric Sheep City, have both fully maxed everyone. And then everyone else that I know has not done that. So, it is possible. But I'd say that there's a pretty significant time commitment going on there. And Soddle, I believe, said the only bundles he bought were the pre-orders, and he maxed everything, just played a lot.
Yeah, it turns out when you do tasks, you get coins for the character that you're doing tasks for, yes, but you also get coins for a random other character, or at least I think it's random. Can be legendary coins, so you get a pretty significant number of coins just for doing tasks, like doing up to task 7 on all the characters, which is the minimum that you would need to do to get everyone maxed out. So when you add on top of that any tasks beyond task 7 you're doing for certain characters that you get just from the dailies that show up, it's a significant number of coins that can fill in some of the gaps and maybe make up for not throwing as much gold or cash at the mode.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a lot about the changes to mercenaries and task grinding in particular, among other things. It's still in the game, but it's definitely, I think the people that got that first week head start are really, really noticing how much further ahead they are on that PvP grind, because it was faster to do elemental. There are different benefits to doing Felwood 6 on Heroic instead of doing Barons 2 Heroic, but if you just want tasks, it was faster to do it the old way. And also, Wicked Good is noting in chat, and there are a few tasks that are not made the same. In particular, killing minions with for the Queen for Sylvanas, water elemental kills on Jaina take forever. There's one where it's like you have to kill 3 enemies with a single, I think it's an Earth Stomp, 15 times or something like that. No, it's a Fireball Storm. I forget. It's insane. There's some really, really, really crazy late ones. I haven't gotten that far yet, but it is possible to do. But those late tasks, they take some doing in some very particular setup. So yeah. As for me, I've been, well, I like that the way that we're all playing Hearthstone right now is pretty different. Edelweiss, I'm closer to you, but not that close. Like, I want to do PvP at some point, but I don't feel compelled to push it, and I don't have the time to do that. So I've been doing my dailies, getting 1 to 3 PvP wins a day. Played a little bit of Standard. It's okay. I'm ready for it to be not the format that it is right now. Not that I think this format is bad, I just don't really want to play it that much. But I'm trying to get back into 11x territory, I think, because I've been 11x so many times that I'll be renormalized back in there. But right now my legend number starts with a 2. And, the last week's Tilt Spiral definitely has not fully equalized. But, Standard has some interesting games.
Top 300, nice. Nice, top 300.
It starts with a 2 and has 3 numbers after it. But yeah.
Hey, it could have 4 numbers after it.
Maybe.
Well,
I don't know how many
not.
people are Legend and Standard on America's this month. But either way, there are a lot of really interesting and good games. There's a lot of minion combat right now. There's so much Warrior. And there are so many games where, like, I'm going to Fatigue as Druid versus Warrior. And there's more Mage than I'd like there to be. But there's also a ton of minion combat and interactivity and back and forth. But I'm ready for it to just be a different format than it is. But it's not bad. That's what I've been playing. I also played this really cool game called Inscription, where if you're into narrative-heavy, card-based roguelikes, if those words excite you, Edelweiss's eyebrows just raised, and Btag is squinted. I know who the target audience is here. If you are interested to narrative-heavy...
You started with narrative, so
I know.
You knew where I was going right away.
If you like narrative-heavy, card-based roguelikes, do me a favor, don't Google it, just go get it. Just go get it. Because it is a game where knowing more about it makes the experience worse. There is a free demo. I strongly recommend, if you have any inkling of engaging with the game, like the things I just said, just go play it blind, completely blind. Much better experience. That's what I did, and I was very happy about it. And my wife started playing it before I did. And then she said, you go play this game. And I did, and I was very happy with it. I finished it in about 8 hours. So, not a huge time commitment. Very fun on PC right now. Inscription. I'm going to coin Concede to it too, but strongly recommend it. But hey, we're here to talk about Hearthstone, and the news section is 3 pages long, so we should probably do that now.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
All right, 21.6. Tons of stuff here. There were new cards announced. Those will be discussed in Decksplanations segment like we usually do. So if you're looking for new card stuff, that's where it's going to be. But to start, we have the mini set coming out, and it is Deadmines. It's going to be coming out on Tuesday the 2nd, 35 cards. If you want to purchase it with money, it will cost you about $15 US dollars, or 2,000 gold as usual per the mini set. We will have additional reveals on top of the ones that already got revealed today on the 29th at 10 a.m. Pacific, on the 30th at 10 a.m. Pacific, and on Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Today was just all the common cards, and there are some spicy ones, so I'm looking forward to talking about those in Decksplanations. But before we get there, we'll cover the rest of the patch, which is a Mercenaries update. there will be 5 new mercenaries: Edwin, Sneed, Eudora, Mr. Smite, and Cookie. We're not going to go line by line here, but it's just way too much to process. But they're pirates, and that's pretty cool.
Eudora has cannons. Eudora has cannons.
The stats on the website are maxed, not level 30.
They changed this from how they used to display it, because maxed means you don't have anything else more to spend gold on. Like, that character has nothing else to buy, and so they get that extra +1/+5. Because if you completely max out a character, if you spend everything there's to spend and get all of their baseline abilities level 5, all their equips level 4, it gets +1/+5. The initial reveal of Mercenaries, when the mode first came out, said level 30, but not maxed. These are maxed. So the numbers that you see in there, like Edwin shows the 1380, if you get him to level 30, it's going to be at 1275. So that it doesn't go up again from what you see. Somewhat complicated, but it's different from what they did last time I wanted to call it out. And of note, these mercenaries get placed in current packs. Now, there are 3 new bounties, and that they'll include tasks. I assume that there's some way to get some packs and some way to get other mercs, but also the new mercs, the 5 new mercs, are being placed inside of current packs. There is 2 rares, 2 epics, and a legendary. I am sure that there is some mechanism here to help obtain those, but we don't know what that is quite yet.
Yep, and that's pretty much it for the Mercs update. Actually, I want to toss it to Edelweiss here. Just give us like a real brief thoughts on anything that stood out to you from these new mercenaries. We won't go super in depth because that would take forever, but just like kind of what are headlines about either the new mercenaries or any of these changes?
Yeah, so the initial thoughts are these do not further speed manipulation terribly much, and it seems like speed manipulation is kind of what's good. So I think there was some talk that maybe Cookie might see its way into some comps. You know, Cookie is very flexible in that it is a Murloc, has synergy with Pirates if Pirates do see some play, and all the abilities, I believe, are nature. So very flexible in terms of that one. My personal guess is I feel like people might underestimate Bleed, because Bleed we've only really seen in the PvE content, and it's inconsequential because it's on inconsequential enemies for the most part. But when it's on a character that's going to try and throw Bleed at you repetitively, as far as I know, Bleed just happens every turn and there's no way to heal it. Or is that correct? Unless like healing it removes the bleed?
I believe healing removes it, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. Well, all right. If healing removes it, then it's not as good as I'm thinking. But at least certainly against any comps that don't have much in the way of healing, bleed will stack up rather quickly. And it could at the very least, even with heal going on, create some weird elements where, you know, they have to consider, hey, I need to heal to remove this bleed, but that means then I'm not taking some other kind of action. So it'll be exciting to at least have bleed available in PvP. And yeah, the cannons from Eudora look cool. They're all like, their new effects. We'll have to see if any of them are strong enough to make them their way into comps, but it seems like Varden and Cairn are here to stay when it comes to the meta comps, just because speed manipulation is so powerful.
Yep, and also Fire Stomp kills a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
I looked it up, and bleed does indeed get removed by restoring health. It has to be restoring health. It can't be adding health, so it couldn't be something like Garrosh's taunt ability or Morgul adding health to Murlocs. Just restoring health. So actually like a healing ability, but it does look like there's a way to deal with that. So that might benefit healing. I don't see a lot of that currently in Mercs as much, but there's a little bit. Like there are ways to do it. I'm curious to see how it goes, but you're right. The PvP that I've seen, which isn't a lot, but what I've seen, as an outsider, is that the speed control seems to be the way to play Hearthstone right now. Like, you can use nature or shadow abilities or equipment to speed up your team, and Dawn Grasp and Cairn are just kind of good cards. And there are other ways to slow things down as well. I know that Blink Fox being a little bit bugged might work both for and against him. I'm not sure exactly how that's bugged and how that's going to be fixed. I know Mana Blink and 10th Tail both don't work quite right now. But I am curious to see what ends up happening. And also I'm curious to see how they intend to get us these Mercs, because I think adding 5 new Mercs without some kind of catch-up mechanism would be a bad idea, but also I don't envision them doing that, so I wonder what the catch-up mechanic is going to be. But that is the second mode out of the 6 that are getting updated this week. What else we got?
All right, so we got BGs. So Diablo, obviously, the anticipated Diablo games will be happening. It's going to be a week long, and then it says for every 4 turns, all enemies fight the Lord of Terror and your warband for loot. Still don't know a ton about this, but I'm excited to see this in action and see how it affects things. We also get 2 new heroes, one of which is Sneed, where you can pay 1 gold to give a friendly minion Death Rattle, summon a random minion of the same tier. Somewhat similar. This is somewhat similar, I would imagine, to Lich King, except it costs a gold. So it's it could be a little stronger, but I think that's interesting. And then Cookie, which is 0 mana to throw a minion into your pot, and then when you've gathered 3 discover from their minion types. I sure hope this can target the shop, because otherwise this is bad. If you can.
Yeah. I guess it can target the shop, because
Yeah,
it doesn't say
feels very
your
much
minion,
like-
it says a minion.
It feels very much like Griffin Master, right? It's just the 3-turn ability,
Something like that.
but it's the only option you get, but it's also a little bit better than that. So I would imagine you can target the shop, and it's pretty interesting. You don't always get one from your tier, from the tavern tier on, so it's like not as good as that, but you can target specific minion types. So Cookie is definitely one I'm gonna want to play and test out and see how good.
Yeah,
good
and
it is.
I'm guessing it's not necessarily intuitive how it works, but if I were guessing, I would assume that each slot in the Discover is based on the minions that you eat. So, like, if you eat Murloc Pirate Beasts, you're going to see left Murloc, middle Pirate, right Beasts, that it just matches the 3 that you pick in order. That you're basically filling the tribe for each Discover slot based on what you eat.
I don't know, because what if you choose a neutral minion?
Then I assume that you discover something with no type.
I don't know that that's the case.
I don't know either.
That would be my
But-
guess as well. Seems the most intuitive.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm excited though. Should be interesting. Hopefully, I worry very much about the addition of Diablo and what it'll do, but excited to see how it ends up turning out. And it's only a week if it's less than ideal.
Yes.
So we also had a Duels update. There is so much changing in Duels. It makes a ton of sense for us to do a bonus episode. It works out that we get to do a bonus episode where we had a great interview with Atish, and it's just so much to talk about. We're just not going to cover it here.
I checked how long it is in the patch notes. It's 13 page downs. I pressed page down on my keyboard 13 times to cover all the Duel stuff. It's a lot.
It's crazy. Yeah.
There's a lot going on here. There are a few details that we want to cover here, but there's going to be Duel-centric episode. But there are a few really important things we wanted to make sure you caught.
Yeah, so definitely Diablo is going to be added. We're unsure how long he's going to be in there. We do know it's going to be temporary, but it's a dual class hero. You get to choose from Warlock and Warrior cards to add to the deck, and then there are different treasures as well as hero powers you can choose.
And he's there for more than a week, by the way. In Battlegrounds, we think it's only a week,
Yes.
but here we don't have confirmation exact duration. But Atesh said on Twitter he'll be around for longer than a week.
Also, this is going to be the first time Duels is rotating. So you're gonna have your runs retired, card buckets are gonna be adjusted, and a rating reset. There's gonna be a rating reset. So,
Get your runs to 2
I-
losses and leave them there, because when they get reset, you get a free ticket.
Exactly. And and then starting with patch 21.6, all of the Scholomance heroes will have all of their unlock requirements removed. So all of the requirements to unlock the passive treasures by owning Scholomance cards, not going to have that anymore. You're just going to get to play with whatever hero power and whatever treasure you want, which is a great change.
This is the biggest change, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Duels was low-key the most expensive mode in Hearthstone because you had to own cards just to play, let alone to own cards to play with. And they just removed the entire part where you have to own cards to access what heroes can do.
Yeah, it was probably really weird for someone coming in and thinking, oh, hey, I like Dungeon Run, here's this cool PvP Dungeon Run. And they're like, wait a minute, I need Scholomance cards, and I just started playing recently? Like, it would be such a huge disconnect.
Yeah. And, like, they don't need to gate the mode that uses your collection behind a different collection check. They can just let people play with the cards that they own. So I'm hoping that this is kind of a renaissance for Duels, that people are willing to try it out now that there's no collection gating, and also that they get to play with Diablo, which is rad, even though Btag has opinions on his viability.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on Saturday. And then we have some changes to Arena. So the sets that will be legal for Arena will now be Deadmines, Stormwind, Ashes, Rise, Knight's Journey, MSG.
Main Streets of Gadgetzan.
Main Streets of Gadgetzan, that's the one. And Core. And Dual Class Arena starts on the 2nd. For those of you who enjoy Dual Class Arena, it's back on the 2nd. Make sure you get some runs in if you enjoy that.
Also, I saw some tweets going around. Can't confirm or deny. Some people are asking for Death Knights to be added back. I don't know if they should do that, but remember that the Death Knights were banned from Arena, and they still are. It is unclear if that's going to remain next Tuesday.
So I couldn't tell, at least with the tweet that I saw, whether it was being sarcastic or not. Because I believe this person was talking about Elise's open Ungoro pack thing. And just with online tones, it's really challenging for me to read. Like, are they saying they wish they didn't allow Elise to be played, or that they really are happy she's back? It's weird.
It's hard to say, but yeah, I did see a tweet from Sunglitters that said when the Death Knights and MCT were removed, it all went downhill. She got some replies to that in GIF form, but yeah, I'm curious to see. I think there could be some merit. I mean, the tweets I saw said they're not even close to as powerful as Ysera Unleashed, which is probably true, or not the new Ysera. The core set Ysera, which is completely insane. But I don't know. They could probably put some of them back in. I just don't know if they will or if they should. It's hard to say.
All right, which Elise? I assume the good one.
Trailblazer.
The
Ungoro one. Yeah.
Yes, that's the best one.
She's fun.
I love opening packs in a game of Hearthstone. It's so good. Oh, I remember the days where you used to play that in Standard and you just copy Elise a bunch of times and then get a bunch of packs in hand.
Or you'd Shadow
Start
Visions for
opening them
packs.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. Man, I want to play with Elise again. Where are we? All right. Battle ready decks are changing on November 2nd. If you are looking for a deck, a viable deck for standard, 15 USD, you can get either Rogue, Druid, Hunter, or Paladin. And they're designed to be immediately competitive, and you might even have some of the mini set cards included in them. So if you are just getting into standard and you want to try it out, maybe after a couple days of the mini set coming out, if it looks promising for standard, then you could check out one of these battle ready decks if you're new.
It's interesting that they're coming out with the mini set, because usually they wait for data to see what's good, and this time it seems like they're just picking what's good. I'm assuming Druid is, you take current Taunt Druid and you add in the new Voidwalker, and then you ship it, and then people play it, and it's probably good. That would be my assumption. But I don't know what they're going to do with the other classes. Like, I assume that we're not just going to buy Garrote Rogue. I don't think that the developers are going to be like, yes, this is something that we want you playing and is easy to pick up and be battle ready with. Maybe Quest Rogue, I don't know. Maybe there's some stuff we're missing. Or maybe the new legendaries that we haven't seen yet. Maybe there's an Edwin deck.
Yeah,
Or
I guess
they'll give
you
us...
can't really have an SI Edwin.
Imagine if
No.
they give us Garrote Rogue for battle ready decks.
There's no way.
This sounds like a Dayrock Brown Twitter meme. That's what this sounds like. So I assume they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be fun.
Here's Garrote Rogue. Good luck.
Yeah.
So the Cariel Book of Mercenaries will be on November 9th. That's coming out on November 9th. And to quote this, it says, "At least one mercenary will not make it out alive." Hat.
If they hurt Guff, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a serious problem. Now, I think that this could be like a sneaky language, because Tamsin's already dead. So, like, that could just means that Tamsin continues existing. If they hurt Guff, if they come for my boy, we're gonna have a problem.
It seems unlikely they would come for Guff. My guess is that the Rome family is just doomed. I think they're all screwed. If you spoiler alert for Tamsin's Book of Mercenaries, it was dark. It was not great for her father, and they seem to be continuing that trend. And I am legitimately excited to play through Cariel's Book of Mercenaries and find out like the conclusion to the story. But yeah, my sort of guess is that the Rome family is just gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, it's probably not one of the mercs that hasn't had their Book of Heroes yet, because we know that we have to hear from them, right? So, like, it probably won't be... Who's left? Dawngrasp, Scabs, and... Brucon?
Did we not do Dawngrasp?
Did we do Dawngrasp? I don't think we did.
I think it's hard to tell, honestly. Like, I have trouble remembering, because we have pieces of the story told through their quest lines as well. So we kind of have gotten the stories in various ways. I'm seeing from chat no Dawngrasp yet.
Okay, so Cariel's the next one. She's number 6, which means we still have Dawngrasp, Tavish, Brucon, and Scabs. Still have those 4. So it won't be one of those 4, I don't think. Unless we do, maybe one of them dies, and we go and get the flashback and like get the sad backstory of how Scabs, worked his way through gnomish culinary school and then became a spy. Like, I don't know how that's gonna go. But yeah, I would guess a Rome. It seems likely. But we'll see.
I got lost. I am not caught up with Book of Mercenaries at all.
Me neither. I just had to look up the Wikipedia. The only one that I finished is Tamsin. The only books I finished actually for both Mercenaries and Heroes are the Warlock ones, because Gul'dan was cool.
And then, so in addition to 6 modes getting updates, obviously there was a bunch of bug fixes. So, for instance, temporary spell damage, specifically from the 2-mana 1/3 that would give +2 spell damage, is no longer going to work with bleeds, sigils, or secrets. It's going to go away after 1 bleed. In the case of Arcanist, Pat wants to make sure everybody knows that this does not kill Garrote Rogue. As if
The good list didn't even
something
play
like
this. The good list did not play this
Yeah.
card. It was visible on camera. They wanted to be changed. It felt bad. They should have changed it. This does not have any impact on the deck's competitive viability.
Yep. They fixed a interaction with Battle Guard where you play a second one to discount a second taunt.
Do you all ever do this? Where, like, you would start with a battle guard, you'd play
Yeah.
a mule, then you play second battle guard, then second mule?
Yeah, it was sweet.
I was doing a coaching and I pointed this out, and we ended up not doing it because we already had an Oracle. So there just wasn't board space to do it anyways.
Yeah,
But I
it didn't
did
come up
note it
much.
as a thing you can do, and
Yeah.
now you can't.
I assumed that's how it was supposed to work because that was how it was worded.
Well, it said this turn, and it meant I've seen this turn. Like, it meant what the
Yeah.
battle guard had seen. So, like, it didn't check actually since the beginning of the turn. I don't know. Fringe case, but it matches the text of the card closer.
All right, the Jewel Kit also got fixed, the transform part of it. You will no longer be prompted to autocomplete an invalid deck every time you click done while editing it. The complete my deck button will continue to let you automatically finish an invalid deck if desired.
Thank goodness.
Yep. They've added a landing page to the Heroes tab of the Collection Manager to show your current favorite heroes, organized all heroes by class, and more easily track your collection. I'm glad that they did this, even though I don't go into this very often. It's nice that this is fixed. And a bunch of other bug fixes, including achievements showing as 0 points. And then there's even more hot fixes, which I'm going to let Hat take over for this.
Oh boy. Okay, so Mercenaries players already know about this. We are here to give the drama recap. And I say drama, but since our show last week, which was, they had done 3 hot fixes since the mode had come out on Tuesday. They were up to 21.4.3 by the time we did the show on Thursday. Since then, they've done 6 more. We're up to 21.4.9. 9. It's a lot. So, on Friday of last week, the Mysterious Stranger adjustment that you've all heard so much about, we are adjusting the appearance rate of Mysterious Strangers to be based on the relative level of the strongest mercenary in your party compared to the suggested level of the bounty. This move is to encourage people towards more engaging gameplay instead of repeatedly taking on low-level heroic bounties with highly over-leveled parties. Task farming. This was for task farming. Now, task farming's still in the game, and the text of this is very specific, that if you go to Felwood 6 Heroic, which is a level 30, you're more likely, it seems, or at least equally likely, to run into Mysterious Strangers because it's a higher level bounty, so it has higher level chance of Mysterious Stranger. Roughly about the same as the prior farming, from what we can tell. Sometimes the map will roll the swirly spot closer to where you start, where you only have to do 1 fight before you get there. Sometimes it'll take longer. It'll be like 4 spots away. You can re-roll and retire, or you can just go for it. If you retire later, you have a chance at epic coins when you retire as a consolation prize. You get more XP as you go through it. But still, this is clear this is a band-aid, that people want to do PvP. They want to progress their characters quickly. The Mysterious Stranger farming in Barons 2 Heroic was a byproduct of that. And this kicks the can down the road while removing the most soul-deadening part of the experience, but also still illustrates there's work to be done. There was a lot of conversation around this last week. Conversation, I'm being maybe a little middle diplomatic there. There was a lot. Blizzard coming for my gold, denying people rewards, all about changing the economy. I'd never really bought into the idea that this was making people spend more, because everyone that was doing this that I spoke to had either already finished their spending or hadn't spent anything at all, and no one after this nerf suddenly said, oh, this sucks, and then went and spent a bunch of money. They just played less or changed their behaviors to what they were targeting. But with that being said, I think it's clear that this drew in a lot of criticism because something I've learned in customer service, I talked about this in the Angry Chicken, I'll talk about it here. There are two fence posts in the human mind, what I want and what I can have. The distance between those two things is crazy town. You don't want to be in crazy town. People want to do PvP. PvP is awesome. People don't get to without this task farming or a lot of time or, like, I'd say money expense, but money doesn't even matter. You just have to spend the time no matter what you do. You have to grind those tier 7 equipments. And this seemed like moving the fence post further away, so it made Crazy Town bigger. More people were living in Crazy Town because they just wanted to get to PvP because PvP is great, and this made it harder for them to do so. So there is work to be done in the Mercenaries economy. There is work to be done on Mercenaries progression. PvPers need to find a way to progress through PvP. I think that the team is aware of that. This was a hotfix in the meantime to deal with the fact that people were grinding Barons 2 Heroic over and over again, and I think that's about as far from the intended gameplay as possible. And if it wasn't, then they wouldn't have put other levels in the game.
Yeah, as probably the one of us who did the most of this kind of grinding.
Definitely the one who did, yes.
Not important. Or sorry, not enjoyable. I was kind of just auto doing it while I watched something else at the same time. I did have the misfortune to not realize this had taken place on the day that it got hotfixed. I had been doing just a bunch of housework all day, hadn't been tuned into Twitter, and I tried to do some Heroic 2 task grinding and thought I was getting exceptionally unlucky when actually it just wasn't really possible.
Yeah.
So that felt bad.
There are a lot of feels bads around this because people just want to do PvP with endgame comps. So there was some discourse, there were some ups and downs. Then kind of leveled out over the weekend. Like there's still rumblings and whatever. It's important to note as well, during the next wave of hotfixes, they indicated there is going to be a larger Mercs communication coming next week. So it looks like that we're going to get a roadmap as to what's next. And they let us know, hey, this is coming. This thing is coming. However, something started to go around. Started on the CN server, but made its way over to other servers where there was a way to farm PvP bounties, which are the ranked chests, the per daily wins, where you would queue up with 5 of one color, mercenary, 5 of one role, and 1 of another. 5 green, 1 blue, 5 blue, 1 red, 5 red, 1 green. If you were if you queued up with 5 reds, and your opponent was on 5 greens, they would concede to you. You would get credit for your next PvP bounty. If you were on 5 reds, you queued into 5 blues, you would concede to them. It was a somewhat coordinated mass win trading thing that was going on. Players were using it to super rapidly keep hitting PvP chests, which go 0 to 1, 0 to 2, 0 to 3, 0 to 4, 0 to 5, and keep repeating it 0 to 5. And it's getting tons and tons and tons of coins through PvP chests. This started to spread on Reddit. It was around for like under a day. Before that was hotfixed, it was... I don't think any of us are expecting to keep that in the game. Also, I think that's surprisingly clever. Like, gamers gonna game. People want to play PvP so bad, they will do whatever they have to do to play PvP, is like making a structured mass win trading scenario. But of course, that's not something that they're going to leave in the game. So, the bug fix was, if less than 3 mercenaries had died when the match ends, there is no progress towards your PvP daily rewards. Not your MMR. Your MMR stays the same. Like, it progresses as normal, right? If someone concedes to you, you still get credit as though you won the match. But if 2 mercenaries died and they conceded to you, you did not get credit towards your PvP chest. This means that if someone had a bad matchup or lost 2 mercenaries and scooped, and you were just trying to get your 0 to 1, you were probably going to play a bunch of games before you get there. Your 0 to 1, your 0 to 2. And this had a lot more collateral damage for regular grinders, for regular people playing, than I think most hotfixes they do. This was clearly, like, we have to stop this mass win trading thing right now. They had to do it. They moved very quickly on it. but there were some significant changes and significant impacts. And also there was a bug in that hotfix where if someone conceded to you to get you over your rank chest rewards, like at 6k, 7.5k, you get stuff. If someone scooped you in with less than 3 mercs dead, you didn't get that either. You just skipped right over it. Now that was fixed in less than a day, and they manually rewarded anyone that missed it. That was less than a day before they fixed that bug and they gave it out, but obviously we can tell it was a rough couple days there. As of today, they changed it from 3 mercenaries dead to 1 mercenary dead. Just 1. So if at least 1 merc has died, then you get your credit for the PvP daily. They fixed that bug yesterday and rolled out all the other stuff for people that missed their MMR chests. And now it seems to be things are stabilizing again, but we're pretty clearly in need of some adjustment for people that want to play PvP to find them a way to get them towards the game they want to play. Regis Kilbin put out a great video on why he's done making content for mercenaries, and I think that he has a really great perspective on why it's not for him, that he wants to do the PvP, he wants to be creative, but the time investment is too much. When you invest money, it feels like it doesn't go quite far enough, and it's more the part that he spoke to that I think is really smart, is that it's not forced monetization, it's forced engagement. Right now, there's no way to play other than the way that the designers intended for us to play. It's PvE, do your dailies, PvP comes with time. Trying to push it will just be a lot of work. My understanding from discussions in the Mercenaries Discord where there's a development presence is that they're aware that this is a pain point, and I would imagine the communications next week will probably speak to the idea of PvP-related progression and iteration to come with the mode that is, again, 2 weeks, 2 days old, still pretty early on. They've done a lot of good work hotfixing, but also it's aware that what people want this mode to be and what it is right now, for a lot of people, there's a gulf there. But for people that want to play PvE, do their dailies, dip into PvP when they can with what they have, that's what I'm doing. It's awesome. But not everyone wants to play that way. So right now there's just not as much flexibility and agency, and PvP just has a huge time and money barrier. Thoughts, Edelweiss, before I go any further?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of ended up in a weird position where, because the tasks I ground for early on were not for meta characters, but sort of ones that I really wanted to try out, it felt a little punishing to then have that door closed behind me, and I, couldn't then use the same strategy that I had been for the more meta characters as someone that really wants to engage with the PvP. Yeah, it's just a massive time investment at this point to work towards getting the tasks. There's so many things besides coins when it comes to task grinding, so it's not something that you can even buy your way into to be able to feel like you can play PvP on the top level, because and I would have mixed feelings about it if you could. I don't think that's necessarily great either. It's kind of just in this weird space, and yeah, I am probably gonna step back a little bit from PvP to just focus on trying to get everything maxed, because then I'll never have the feeling of, oh, I might have been able to win that, but because I was a little behind on, this one ability or something, wasn't able to get that edge. I want to be able to play the PvP with, just thinking about the moves I'm inputting and not the levels of my characters, or they're always going to be level 30, but the levels of their abilities and what equipment they have.
Yeah. And ultimately, when you look at Hearthstone, it's a PvP game, right? Constructed, you play against another person. In Battlegrounds, you play against 7 other people. The vast majority of the modes are PvP, and that's where the interesting things are, because other human beings are interesting to play against. So, not surprised that that's where the appeal is. PvE is fine for the people that like it, but the assumption that the developers seem to make that everyone will like both halves seems to be somewhat flawed, and that's what they're going to have to fix going forward. So I'm looking forward to the future version of the Mercs. I'm still enjoying the current version, but I think the question of how can we make the appeal of this mode broader by introducing different ways to play completely is a question that they're asking themselves internally, and I would expect the comms next week will be pretty clear about their future roadmaps and where they're going. So, looking forward to that. But this is the majority of the Merc stuff we're going to talk about this episode because we've got a whole lot of constructed things to do. So, a couple notes here left in the news, and then we will keep on moving.
Yeah, bit of somewhat sad news, I would say. We had an update on BlizzCon. So, BlizzCon Online that was supposed to happen in February has been canceled. They're going to be reimagining what BlizzCon could look like in the future, and they really want to focus on inclusivity. They will still be releasing announcements on games and stuff like that around the February timeframe, I'm guessing. And they have a quote here saying that we will be back together soon, and I sure hope so, because I really want to go to a BlizzCon with my 2 co-hosts and grab a burger and check out sweet Blizzard stuff.
I'm not super upset about the idea of BlizzCon Long being canceled because the last one was weird. Yeah, and this is something that I found out. Do you all know who the executive producer of BlizzCon was? Her name was Sarah Lynn Smith, and she was married to this guy named J. Allen Brack. And she's not with the company, and he's not either anymore. They both departed, one more visibly than the other. But the executive producer of BlizzCon is no longer with the company after being there for a long, long time. So I would imagine that her departure as well has led them to believe that maybe we need to reassess how we do a BlizzCon, and February is not that far away. So, yeah, I'm not surprised this happened. And there's more Blizzard stuff as well. Bobby Kotick put out a letter. They're changing some stuff. They've got some new policies. Zero tolerance for harassment, focused diversity efforts, including changing the makeup of their companies. They're ending required arbitration, increasing visible pay equity, and making more progress updates as time goes on. A nice step in the right direction for ABK as a company. We'll remain to see how effective these things are, but different tone than the company had a few months back. And also, maybe BlizzCon Online being canceled and this coming out at the same time could be related. Maybe not the best time to have a celebration of Blizzard's values. Yeah. Oh, also, they're renaming a character in Overwatch to the cowboy character is now going to be Cole Cassidy. And since his name is changing, your name can change too. If you want a free battle tag name change through November 5th, you can have one. So there's a form, and you can have a free Btag change. So, you can go do that.
Gosh, honestly tempting, but I'm too tied to Edelweiss at this point.
Options on the table for another week.
Yeah, I ain't changing mine.
Nope, me neither.
And so also, lastly for the news, obviously, the Iksar AMA happened. Finally, he's deciding to change his schedule to 1 to 2 per month until the end of the year, so he can take some time off to spend it with the new baby. Sad that we won't have this as part of our episode every week, but honestly, I'm glad that he's not going to have to do one of these every single week, just for his sanity, even though I'm sure he enjoys doing them quite a bit. And right now, just kind of some notes about mercenaries. As per tradition that I'm starting now, I'm going to have you talk about mercenaries related topics.
Okay, I got you. So Dean was surprised by the positive response from very hardcore players. I knew there was potential for fun, competitive gameplay, but thought it would take more time to get that across. And it's worth noting, by the way, Dean is the lead designer for the Hearthstone Constructed side. He doesn't work on Mercs. But he's obviously met with the people over there and talked to them about it. But it does not roll up to him, so he's not speaking as a person with authority over mercenaries. The team is still digesting the initial reception of the mode before making their future plans. Once a more concrete plan is set in place for Mercs, they'll share that with the community. Again, I assume that's going to be next week. The change to Mysterious Stranger was so players didn't feel forced to run low-level content. They'll still be looking at feedback around the change over the weekend, which has since passed. It's still too early to be talking about balance, and the meta's changing drastically still. If it gets stale, they'll make changes, and the team will continue to improve mercenaries over time. They aren't going to abandon the mode. And perhaps the most important thing shared in his AMA, Dean had Subway for lunch last Friday. So, just want to make sure everyone stays tuned in. We didn't get details on his order. That question was asked but not answered. I am sure that we'll hear about that in next week's AMA.
And that's it for the news. Very hefty news section. Got a bit of tournaments to talk about, and then finally get to talk about some of these new cards.
It's the grand tournament.
Okay, so I'm skipping qualifiers, I'm skipping ladder. It's all going to change next week. I have 2 bullet points. Masters Tour Stormwind. I don't watch a ton of Hearthstone esports, time pressure, I work on the weekends, whatever you want to call it. I watched some of this, especially the top 8. Fury Hunter played out of his mind. Incredible to watch. Really, really amazing. And while the decks in this current standard might get old to play against on ladder over and over again, watching them played at the very highest level does not get old. These games were an absolute treat to watch, especially if you like high-level competitive play. And Fury Hunter, unbelievable. There was one game, Game 3 of the finals. If there's any one game that you watch, Game 3 of the finals, it was Elemental Shaman against Libram Paladin. The person that won that game, there were 4 different turns where I would have conceded after my draw that I counted, among others where I would have just conceded after my opponent's play. And that person won that game. Strongly recommend checking it out. Really, really great, but there were a lot of reverse sweeps. He targeted Rogue with some very particular decks. He glided his opponent on Rogue into field contact swindle, and it's when you glide a Rogue with a full hand, you're like, this is going to go well for me, and then they go field contact swindle. It's like, oh well, now they have a new full hand. So it was really, really great to watch. Over Btag Palm in the finals, they had some really wholesome Twitter interactions after the fact. Both really class acts. Diz Demon and MSBC in the semis, Yuansu Pun, Gregor Yusel, and Mago GX in the top 8. There will be some new GMs that come out of this too, by the way. Fury Hunter for sure, but also I expect Pun will be a GM because I think the only person from the Americas server in the top 8 overall. Fury Hunter won with Lifesteal Demon Hunter, Doom Ellie Shaman, Garrote Rogue, and Quest Control Warrior over Jim's Doom Elemental Shaman, Libram Paladin, Taunt Druid, and Quest Control Warrior. These lineups seemed like they were trying to go for beating Rogue, and it seems like it worked pretty well. Garrote Rogue was by far the most banned deck. Demon Hunter was right behind it, but Fell Demon Hunter was actually the best performing deck with a really small sample size. Same with Quest Warrior, Quest Shaman, Quest Hunter. In terms of popular decks, Mage, Poison Rogue, and Face Hunter did really well. This is a good tournament for Quest Warrior. There weren't as many mages, but that's why the mages did so well. Because the warriors are there to beat the rogues, and they're pretty good at it. But that means that mage can be there to beat the warriors, and you kind of have to leave it up, so you just take the loss when you're playing the warrior lineup. And then, if you win the set 3-2, mage is going to look better in the stats, but the lineup isn't going to do as well. So, very interesting tournament. Really, I recommend enjoying watching it. Especially the finals and the semis. Really, really like that. And then, Concede Listener Series. Fred Fair and Bach for Life. Congratulations, Fred Fair won the EU bracket, and Bach for Life won the North America bracket. So, thank you so much for everyone participating. We're going to look at a future Concede Listener Series, maybe after the mini set, maybe Constructed, maybe Mercenaries, I don't know. But for now, it's time to talk about new cards.
So we finally have the mini set coming, and like we expected, November 2nd, it's going to be fast and furious with the reveals. 35 total cards, same as always, but we only have 16 to go over for now.
Only 16, you say? Only 16.
We'll get done under 2 hours. We only do.
You
a few
shouldn't have
minutes per
said
card.
that. That was dumb to say out loud. It's a dumb thing.
I've
We
definitely
might,
jinxed it,
but you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to put that out into the
it's
universe
true,
because
it's
the
true.
universe will throw it
I'm
right back at you.
sorry. Well, we're going off of the out of cards list here, so we will begin with Demon Hunter. Need for Greed. This is a 5-mana spell, tradable. Draw 3 cards, and if drawn this turn, it costs 3. So if you top deck it, it's just a Arcane Intellect that's 1 more card, but you also have the option to trade it back.
Just an Arcane Intellect that draws 1 more card. It's freaking Backfire that doesn't deal damage to yourself.
I didn't say just. Did I preface with just?
You said
it's pretty
Arcane,
good.
Arcane Intellect compared to Backfire are very, very different things. And it's tradable, so if you want to have this effect later, you just have this effect later. This card is sick.
All right, let me rephrase. It's very good if you top deck it.
Yes.
I'll also point out, I know this is hard for us to think about. There will be a world in the somewhat near future where Skull of Gul'dan is not in standard. 5 months, and it's gone.
Skull of Gul'dan hasn't really been in standard for a little while now.
Is that true? It's in Fel DH and Death Rattle DH.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. I don't know that it's in all Death Rattle lists, though.
I've only really interacted with the Quest decks. So I guess
it's not in that. And this won't be in those decks either.
No, those decks have enough draw already.
Too much draw.
Probably.
And the discount will, even if you have Big Kurt down, the discount gets overridden by the text on the card. It just
that
costs
was
3.
the question I had, and good to know that. Yeah,
it's supposed to work that way, but they do the discount layering per card, so it might be bugged when it launches, or it might work differently. But they've changed them all to it says what it says in the card. Like if you draw I-Beam and you've already played Big Kurt, it costs 1. That's just what it costs. So I would imagine that it will remain, it will stay at 3, as opposed to go to 1. Either way, this is a Skull replacement when Skull rotates, I think. I can't see a reason to play this over Skull right now.
Yeah, it costs 3, not -3.
Correct.
Or -4. As it did once upon a time.
Oh, God, yeah. But yeah. Moving on from Need for Greed, we have a 3-mana 2/2 Demon Crow's Nest Lookout. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to the left and rightmost enemy minions. So this is kind of taking the Outcast themes of Demon Hunter and reapplying them in an interesting and probably just better way most of the time, right? It's not dependent on being in a certain location in your hand. You just kill 2 things and get a 2/2. Seems like a good deal. I don't know what wants this card.
Kill or
that's the thing, right? Is I think this card is quite good, except that it does I don't know of any of the decks that want to play this card. Any of the current any of the current Demon Hunter decks, this doesn't really have a place in, because you wouldn't play this in Death Rattle Demon Hunter. You definitely wouldn't play this in Quest Demon Hunter. The only deck that would possibly have a use for it would be Lifesteal DH, because it controls the board kind of. But even then, I think Lifesteal DH already just has such a high quality set of cards that I don't know that this would make the cut and something like that. So while it is a very cool card, I don't really see it having a place in any of the current Demon Hunter decks.
Gonna be good in arena. Real good in arena.
Yes.
That's for sure. Particularly because if they just have one minion, you deal 4 to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. This is a reasonable rate for a thing that you probably don't want to hard run in your deck. Like 3 mana deal 2/2 minions and get a 2/2 is like it's a good price for something that I don't want. You know, like there are a lot of cards that are efficient enough, but the purpose that it's serving isn't great. And Demon Hunter's pretty good at killing minions. You want to kill some minions as Demon Hunter. There are a lot of different ways to do that. Most of them are spells that gain you life. This doesn't do that. A 2/2 is not all that valuable of a body. Standard feels like it's mostly about 3 health minions right now. I think almost entirely. But if Demon Hunter loses removal options, like this could be good enough as a replacement. It ends up being like a Scuff Volcanic Potion. And it is only one-sided, like it doesn't kill your own stuff. So theoretically, if you're a go-wide Demon Hunter deck against another go-wide deck and you want to kill their things and not your own things, so you don't want to Immo Aura, you could play this. I don't see this working now, maybe in the future, but I don't know. This feels like standard cards used to look like this a long time ago. I don't think they look like this anymore.
Yeah, this the card that this reminds me of is the 3 mana 2/2 that dealt 1 damage to all your opponent's stuff.
Oh yeah,
and that
Twilight Flame Caller. Yeah,
that one saw like a good amount of play, but also like that meta was completely different than what we're playing right now. So like,
yeah, that came out in Whispers. That was a long time ago.
A long time ago, where the landscape was completely different. So while this is a pretty cool card that I think reads pretty well, I don't know how effective it'll end up being.
Yeah, I kind of wonder with this and with the mage card they've shown as well, if they might be sort of preparing for rotation. Maybe they're the kinds of things that will, break out in after the first set of next year. But I'd have to take a look at what all is going out and what will stick around. Because, yeah, we have sort of moved past the Flame Tongue Kavu power level in terms of cards that we run in our decks.
I mean, that card came out in 2001 in a different video game.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. We've moved
one
past
that has
the
also moved past that power level.
We moved past the.
I mean,
what was the 4 mana 3/3
right?
that dealt 2? The Elemental Phoenix, the Flame Wraith Phoenix. Moved past that.
I mean, we played a lot of that card because elementals were good, and also we played the Hunter card that's deal 3, make a 3/3.
Flanking Strike, yeah. Flanking Strike was better than this.
Strike. Maybe.
You get to target.
Yeah. It's less damage for more mana.
Guess so. Either way.
Better body, though.
Standard isn't about this kind of thing anymore. You know what Standard is about?
I mean, this next card is sick. This Druid card is sweet. Yeah. All right, I'll talk about it. Druid of the Reef. A 1 mana 1/1. But you get to choose one. You can either transform it into a 3/1 shark with rush or a 1/3 turtle with taunt. Both of these things are quite appealing to me, and holy cow, they're doing this with 1 mana cards. This is a 1 mana card. And that's
this is a Void Walker. It's a Void Walker with upside, right? Like, it's a Void Walker plus other stuff. By the way, the 3/1's a shark, and the 1/3 is a turtle. Do you know what the combined version is? Half shark, half turtle? It's just titled Druid of the Reef, because Deck Tech tweeted that Shartle didn't get past the naming team. Yeah, that's a real tweet. And I believe Sottle was the one that said, I'm just going to call it Shartle for him. Which is definitely how I'm going to think of it as well, but that's not in the game. It just says Druid of the Reef. So.
Well,
but yeah,
now
card
it's
is quite good. This, I would like you'd probably just play this in Token Druid, right? Like this
Current
is
Taunt
just
Druid.
a
Absolutely.
one drop that you would love to have. It's going to be a 1/3 a lot, but the times that it's a 3/1 is going to be quite good.
There are definitely times where you're staring down a field contact and you say, gosh, my deck has no removal and they just blew up my board. I have no way of dealing with that and I lose. Now you actually have something that can kill the field contact.
Also, Peasant Coin Turtle. Seems good. Seems good.
The new Flame Imp Voidwalker.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Druid.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
Seems pretty good. Yeah, card's nuts. Great. Sees instantaneous play. This goes in Taunt Aggro Druid like the second it comes out.
Probably the best card that's been revealed, honestly.
I haven't scrolled down yet, but probably.
Yeah. Well,
There are some other really good ones though. Let's keep going.
Keep going.
I don't know.
All right. Well, it's not these next ones. So Hunter has a 5-mana 3/2 Defias Blast Fisher, which is an enjoyable image if you have, heard of the whole fishing with explosives thing. It's basically that. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. Repeat for each of your beasts. Generally, these effects have not been great because relying on having a bunch of a particular minion type in play is very hit or miss. It's better than Cannon Barrage, which was 6 mana and did not include a minion. That was the old rogue card that dealt 2 damage for the pirates you had in play. But I still don't know how good this is. It certainly can be a really powerful swing, but we're not seeing a deck that really is putting out a bunch of beasts right now. It goes into the go wide with beasts cards that we saw earlier in United and Stormwind, but I don't think there's enough of that stuff, and it's not quite powerful enough.
There's the 4-mana 1/6 from the last mini set, the Sindori Scent Finder, where like if it gets it's what is it Frenzy? I think it's Frenzy. You make 4 rats.
Yep.
I don't know.
I wasn't aware they reprinted Unleash the Hounds, or they gave us back Unleash the Hounds, because that would be sweet to do with this, but they didn't. So
seems to be like the rat deck seems to be something that they kind of want to happen, but not enough to make it happen. I don't know. This would have been sick in Uldum Quest Hunter. Would have been sick in that deck. Like the Desert Spear deck, and you get to you get to make another Rusher, and then you get to make the 4/1 Griffin. Then you play this, and you're like pew 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 pew.
But even still, it's pretty expensive even for that deck. I think.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of mana for that effect, which you have to play it for the effect because obviously the body isn't worth it. But I'm way more excited about this next Hunter card.
Well, hang on. I do want to clarify one thing, which is the Blast Fisher can go face, which is why I do put it slightly over the, or maybe a fair bit over the Demon Hunter card that we saw earlier. So even if you're just going with the Wound Prey and then Blast Fisher on 6, like you at least get to do 5 face damage and have a couple of minions.
I hope that they make support for this kind of card and deck to exist, but I don't see it. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
But the bird.
About the parrot.
The bird. One of many birds.
Does it look familiar?
It is, isn't it, what? Man, I killed
Macaw?
this.
I killed Macaw from BGs.
Okay. I thought it was specifically like Squawks from
from Freehold.
The instance. From Freehold.
Yeah, the parrot.
I ran a lot of Freeholds.
Yep, that's Crag's parrot. Yeah. Yep.
But anyway, what it does, it is a 4-mana 3/4 Battlecry. Repeat the last friendly death rattle that triggered. Keep this in mind. Repeat the last thing that happened. Seems to be a theme. I love that they're trying to go down this route with some of these cards.
This is something that I have known that it's possible. We've seen it a couple of times previously. I think there was a card way back that made your next hero power cost 0. But I think this may be the first time since then that we've really seen effects that transcend turns in this way. That
Well,
remember.
Tour Guide's recent.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, tour guide's pretty recent. But
Yeah,
like
but this is the first thing that's like tracking.
yeah,
I think
that isn't
it's
hero powers.
tracking
Your hero
something that happened.
right, because your hero power, it's very visible. It shows you it costs 0, right? So that's kind of the easiest form of this sort of thing. But I don't think we've seen anything like this where it just like remembers a thing in this way. I don't know.
So we're used to this being Zul'jin or Shudderwock or Tess, where it remembers all of them,
right.
or Blood River Gul'dan, where it used to. This is, remember how they said they were prototyping graveyards? This is graveyard prototyping.
Exactly.
Do this instead. So we're used to the entire list, the whole graveyard. Hit all the demons, hit all the battle cries, hit all the spells you played this game. This is just the top card, just the most recent thing that happened. And there's an interaction later in the Shaman section that will get truly brain-bending that we'll talk about. But yeah, it's cool that this is like, that it's just taking another step towards complexity that Hearthstone has been doing lately and didn't before a couple of years back. Under the Bentley universe, they're allowed to let their players keep track of a little bit more stuff, and that's pretty cool. I assume that Hearthstone Deck Tracker, when you hover over this, it'll tell you what it's going to do. I think that'll be a really great quality of life feature for desktop players. It's not there yet because the card's not out yet, but I bet that HSDT will do something like that. I don't know what this is going to be good for power level-wise in Standard.
Tonk, 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 tonk.
I don't know what this is going to be good for power level-wise in Standard.
Tonk.
And
Tonk into double tonk.
I
Seems
also
optimistic.
don't know how this works with Rat King now. Does it just go dormant? Just put itself to sleep if you Rat King? I don't know. Curious. Anyways, I'm sure there's something, but I can't think of any good Hunter Death Rattles off the top of my head right this moment in Standard.
Tonk. Tonk is a great death rattle minion. What do you mean?
Yes, we're gonna survive to what does that card cost 8?
No, it
8?
costs 7. It curves perfectly.
Does it
Cost
actually
7?
cost 7?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up. I don't believe you. It does cost 7. Okay.
What do you mean you don't believe me? I play this card in duels.
Okay.
You play
I mean-
Death Rattle Hunter in duels, and you tonk people, and now this one you can double tonk them. Boom.
I hope that we get to the point where Standard is about the tonk and the retonk.
Yeah,
I hope that's what
probably
Standard
not.
becomes about.
Yeah,
I have
probably
doubts. I have pressed X
not.
to
I
doubt.
also do.
Yeah. But if there's a good cheap Death
I'm
Rattle,
more
I'd
excited.
like that.
I'm honestly excited. I'm more excited about this card for duels because I think this is
Yes.
quite a good duels card.
And I guess Nerubian Egg is in Standard, I just don't know how you kill it. But like if you can kill your own Nerubian Egg.
You give it +1/+1 with. Wait, nope.
Wriggling
Is that
Horror.
Druid card? No, what's the? Isn't there a one? No, there's a hunter card. 1 mana, give +1/+1, and make a 1/1. Yeah.
Oh, Adorable Infestation. Yeah.
And
Oh no, he's...
That's quite
Please
the
come
froze.
back.
Freeze there.
You froze. Oh no, you're back. That was entertaining though.
oh god, oh that's tragic.
Okay, so
Oh.
anyways, curious to see where Bird goes. Right now, I'm not convinced, but I like the design. And speaking of the design, there is a cycle of birds. Let's talk about Grey Sage Parrot, 8 mana, 6/6 mage card. Battle Cry, repeat the last spell you've cast that costs 5 or more. So, interesting that it has a limiter that is not going to repeat crappy spells, only going to repeat big spells. What are we doing with this? Because
Well,
big
I
mage
just brought
up-
spells...
I just brought up Tonk. And we all know what
Mask.
mage spell is like Tonk. We mask a Cthulhu.
Oh, you mask it?
Or
Yeah.
Flame Strike. It's
Deep Freeze
it's like
and Grand Finale, and also since they nerfed Refreshing Spring Water, you could Spring Water again, but you have a minion in your deck, so probably not.
Seems unlikely.
yeah, it's a weird one. We don't have great expensive spells right now. We also have had the Inkwell that hasn't really seen play, that cares about expensive things, and that's just not really happening. So they're clearly building around this theme of expensive spells. It's just not there yet. So maybe later in this year, maybe next year. I think it's always tough to evaluate how a card is going to play over the course of its lifetime in Standard, because you never know when they're going to print something that just totally changes how you consider certain cards. So this may never see play, or maybe we'll get some really busted expensive spells that we want to play multiple times.
If you repeat a Cthulhu spell, it doesn't tick off the Cthulhu thing, right? Because you need this 4 specific different ones?
Yes.
Okay. I figured that was the case, but that would also be kind of interesting. And maybe there's another mage card that is a moderately expensive spell.
Yeah, when I
That
look
is
at
worth
this card in
copying.
this mini set versus this year's Standard, I think, you know what decks in this Standard want is to slow down. That's what these decks want to do in this format.
Yeah, more 8 mana cards.
I am
Yeah.
skeptical. I have healthy skepticism over an 8 mana 6/6 mage minion that says survive to play some big spell, then survive to do it again. It
You
has
know
to
I'm
be
less skeptical
really-
about?
Sunwing
This-
Squawker.
Oh, yeah, this card.
All right,
Seems
let's talk about it.
quite good.
Because
So-
Libram Paladin needed more decisions to make.
More
So,
liberals.
what is this card? What does it do?
This is a 4 mana 3/4. All of these are beasts, by the way, in case that wasn't obvious. But 4 mana 3/4 beast. Battle Cry. Repeat the last spell you've cast on a friendly minion on this. So, most mundane usage, you get a Hand of a Doll. Pretty solid. 4 mana 5/5, draw a card. That's a good deal. You can get extra copies of Libram of Wisdom if you're playing that deck. You could get more Blessing of Authority for a very large minion that wouldn't have been able to attack that turn anyway. If you target a minion with your Libram that summons an 8/8 Divine Shield, you get a 3/4 and an 8/8 Divine Shield. This is a very good deal, and it'll require like some forethought, but I think it's just going to be good pretty much all the time. Even with the Steed for Paladin, having a 4 mana 4/5 Divine Shield that summons a 1/1 with Divine Shield, that's a fairly good deal as well.
Yeah, I think Noble Mount is where my head went to. Like, that card is kind of good. Doesn't cost very much, and you can curve into this. Like, I could easily see a world where, like, 1-drop, coin Banana Man, Noble Mount your Banana Man, then play this, and then you end up with a 5/6 Divine Shield on turn 4. Seems okay. Something like that.
I mean, like, yeah, a lot of times this is going to be a 4 mana 4/5 that gives you another Libram into your hand, which is quite good, or a 4 mana 5/5 that draws you a card, which is quite good. And then if we ever start playing Blessing of Authority again, this thing is real big.
If you and Edelweiss are on the same
very
page with
big.
something, then there's something there. Because you two seem well connected. I don't know. It seems like that you can get some value out of this as long as your deck is set up for it, and it could be like a lot of the cards that we talked about aren't Librams. So I think this is likely to see play if we're just playing minion buffs as a matter of course. I don't think that we go out of our way to include them because of this card, but it depends on the minion buff. Like, there have been times in Hearthstone's history where we'd play this for a 3rd Spike Ridge Steed, and that would have been really good. So we don't have a Spike Ridge Steed right now, which I am grateful for, but that would be powerful.
Some priest is going to steal this card, and it's going to be so soul-crushing for them to get another Alec.
Yes, that would be powerful. Speaking of priest and soul-crushing, why don't we talk about this first priest card, bringing back one of everyone's most loved priest mechanics of Resurrection. It's a 3-mana tradable spell. Resurrect one friendly Death Rattle minion, upgrades when traded. It is a shadow spell. So...
What a cool line of text. Upgrades when traded?
Yes.
That is so cool.
You put it back in the
happens
deck.
For other of these cards.
Yep.
Too.
And it's a shadow spell. You trade this back, and then you draw it again, you bring back 2 minions. Trade this back, you bring it back, you get 3 minions. So this could be something that, like, maybe you play this in an aggressive Shadow Priest deck, right? And you play 2 Raised Deads and 1 of these. And then you play the Twilight Deceptor, the 2/3 that whenever a player has taken damage, then you draw a spell. And you just keep drawing this, right? Like, you just get both of your Raised Deads, churn through your deck, play the Deceptor, draw this, trade it back, play the Deceptor, trade this, draw it back, and then you just chain it through your deck, and then eventually you have 3 mana resurrect 4 or 5 minions, and that's pretty powerful. I could see something like that.
Yeah.
Clarifying question here. You have to have had multiple instances of death taking place, right? Like, you couldn't just have one really big Death Rattle minion die, and then you keep trading this, and it'll summon a whole bunch of copies of it, right? You would need a bunch of Death Rattles to die.
Yeah.
Yep. It's also worth noting, this does say resurrect one friendly Death Rattle minion. It doesn't just bring back anything. I think it's important to note that it is restricted. I missed that the first read-through. So you have to be bringing back Death Rattle minions, like your the 3-mana 4/3 that deals 4 to the face when it dies, stuff like that. There are enough of those going around, but you have to make sure that you're intentional about how you build it.
Thankfully, Obsidian Statue remains in Wild.
Yeah. And there is...
I'm just saying.
Yes. I don't think that Wild Big Priest has any trouble getting minions back. They're pretty good at that already. Yeah. And we do have another Priest card, a 2-mana 3/2 Priest Pirate, which is a thing that we do now, I guess. 2-mana 3/2 Priest Pirate, Defias Leper. Battlecry, if you're holding a shadow spell, deal 2 damage. And I think that that's interesting because the current builds of Shadow Priest are very spell light, and if you raise Dead this back, you probably turn it off. I like the tension there a lot, but it does mean that the power level of the card is going to be pretty measured in at least the current builds. If the builds can be changed to be a little bit more spell heavy, this gets a lot better, and I imagine that this will actually see play in Wild Shadow Priest for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it also just seems good because you play it on turn 2 and it probably deals 2 damage most of the time.
In Standard, probably not. In Standard, you play 28 minions, so that would have to change.
Really?
Only 2 raised deads.
Played...
No Void Shards.
Oh, they cut Void Shard because it used to play Void Shard.
That was cut for Kazooks.
And
there was the early build was
Isn't there
double
like a
raised
2-mana spell too?
The early builds were 2 Raised Dead, 2 Void Shard, 1 Thrive, so that if you man-cricked and drew the Thrive, you can go get the wife. But instead, we went for Gandling. Went for Disciplinarian Gandling and the 0 drops and cut. There was a Kazakus attempt, and then it ended up just going towards Gandling instead, which was much better.
So I could see this not making the cut, but also it's very powerful if that text is active often.
Yes.
And maybe it'd be good enough to shift how we build that deck. Honestly, Shadow Priest hasn't been really putting up numbers recently, so a little bit of help in the form of this. Maybe we throw back in Void Shard, get to go on more of a burn plan, rather than the board-heavy stuff with Gandling.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's support, but not in a way that you can just jam in the deck like the Druid 1-drop. You have to think about this one. All right.
We have a rogue card. It is a Blackwater Cutlass, a very, very common weapon back in the day, very well-known weapon. This weapon seems quite good. It's a 1-mana 2/2 weapon with tradable, and after you trade this, you reduce the cost of a spell in your hand by 1. So it's got a lot going on for it, but even just a 1-mana 2/2 weapon, less useful in Rogue just because obviously Rogue has a hero power that is a weapon, but decent stats for a weapon, and yeah, mana cost reduction is good, even if it costs you a mana to reduce a mana. You can kind of save it up.
It's weird, right? I can't tell whether this really fits into anything or just isn't worth the slot. It doesn't really gain you any mana. It just banks it. And that might be good enough, but I just don't really know yet when it's so slow and it's just one at a time.
I think this card reads a lot better than it is. Because you look at the like 1-mana 2/2 weapons, like, whoa, that seems crazy. Is it these days? I don't know. Again, you can kill peasants with it, but Rogue was already pretty good at killing peasants. I don't know how many 2 health things are out there that you really care about killing that much. If you play this and kill a Cage Match Custodian or Menacing Nimbus, are you thrilled about that? No, probably not. And the tradable part, like, any aggressive Rogue deck that wants a 1-mana 2/2 weapon doesn't want to be trading all the time. And if you have a bunch of spells, you're less likely to get value out of the specific discount. So, because you're looking for more general mana discounting, like you'd rather Octobot. I think this is a card that could find a deck in the future of some more aggressive Rogue that wants to top deck. Hey, if you top deck this and you don't want to play it, then you're okay with the trade and the bank the mana. This would be the sort of thing that, like, Rise of Shadows Miracle Rogue would have played this card, right? You discount the Myras, or it's damage off the top deck, or it's a weapon for your deckhand, whatever would play it there. But we need to have a focus spell count, a low curve, a desire to be aggressive early, and both of those things to be helpful to us, and I don't think that there's a Rogue deck that fits the bill right now. It doesn't really work all that well in Quest Rogue because it doesn't say SI in the title, but also it doesn't really work all that well in Garrote because it does nothing that Garrote wants to do. So it has appealing costs, and it's a stat line that looks kind of crazy, but I also don't know where I would play this, and I don't know what it's for. Because I don't think that Rogue has too many problems right now with your Prize Plunderers and your Aug Merchants and your Brain Freezes and your SI7 Extortions or whatever. Killing minions? Like, compare this to SI7 Extortion. Pretty sure Extortion is better almost every time. Almost every time. So
I think the one situation I can think of where this has potential in current standard is actually in Poison Rogue, not because it's a weapon, but because discounting spells in Poison Rogue can often be good even if you're banking it, because what happens is you get to a point where you need a little bit of extra damage and you already play the 4-mana 3/4 that has +2 spell damage, and getting to be able to play that and also still play your spells early on it, or like, you know, around 6 or 7 mana or whatever, right around when you are most likely dying anyway. That extra spell damage I could see helping in some matchups. So while I don't think you would add this right away, the poison deck already is kind of light on playable cards, so I could definitely see this finding a spot in it, as maybe like a one of that you maybe trade more often than not. You trade, and then every once in a while you combine this with like a poison or two to finish off somebody when your 1/4 weapon runs out of its last charge.
And Poison Rogue doesn't do a lot proactive early on. Like, you could easily play this on 1 and kill a couple 2/2s or 2/1s or whatever. The situation I talked about earlier where you're killing Cage Match Custodians and Menacing Nimbuses, that's what Poison Rogue wants to do. Because normally you would do nothing on turn 1 or use Sinister Strike or whatever, and then you hero power on 2. This on 1 is way better because you actually get to kill some stuff, and you're still ready for a weapon on 3. So I could easily see this being played on turn 1 in Poison Rogue and being relevant, and I could easily see the trading being viable there. Yeah, I think that's a good call, bot. I think this will go in that deck. Maybe a one-of.
Also discounting the 1-mana spell, you get 4 new cards.
Secret Passage.
0. See, like, discounting Secret Passage is generally really big because you set up for the discount on the Secret Passage, and then the next turn you just have way more options. So I'm thinking one of, and I could see it getting cut eventually if it doesn't perform, or I could see it being quite good in a deck like that.
Interesting card. All right. Bot, tell us about this next interesting card.
Brilliant Macaw. Oh, geez, it's a 3 mana 3/3.
Yep.
Battle cry. Repeat the last battle cry you played. I mean, I'm guessing the mind bending part that Hat was talking about deals with Shudderwalk in this card.
Bolner.
Bolner.
Oh. So with Bolner, the way I think it works, we'll have to play with it. The way I'm pretty sure it works is that it's just a brand for that turn. Because Bolner says after. So you Bolner, then you this, which repeats the last battle cry you just played twice, right? Whatever it was from the previous turn. And then any future battle cries you play that turn, they say, repeat the last battle cry you played. So I think they just all double. I think it's just a brand for that turn if you go Bolner Macaw to start your turn.
But Bolner already kind of did that. That's essentially what Bolner did, because you would play Bolner and play a battle cry most of the time. The Bolner turns, since they all happen early, you play Bolner, you play another card, it copies whatever you played. And then obviously if you play stuff further than that, it would copy the first thing. But for the most part, with Bolner and something like this, I think this is going to be more like, it feels like you're going to set up a turn to copy a bigger battle cry.
Fireheart. You copy Fireheart.
No.
Yeah, you have a full Fireheart turn, and then you run it back.
Kind of sweet.
Pretty sick, right?
That's kind of gross.
Yeah, that's the dream here. Like, most of the time, I think if you are playing this, it's going to be Dungeoneer. But if it's Fireheart on 10 into this on the next turn, then that's a lot of Firehearting. But it's, we'll see if that actually ends up happening. My hot take is that the deck that currently plays this, an Elemental Shaman, I don't think you have room for another non-elemental Battlecry. Don't think you can do it because you really need the density of elementals. Also, it's important to be aware, this is the same text as Bolner, so if your Battlecry has a target, you do not get to choose the target. It happens randomly. So really rough with Gyreworm, really rough with, I think Lilypad Lurker will only target an enemy unit, but even then, it's still, Gyreworm is not where you want to be with this. Targeting just doesn't happen all that much. You can play it with, and it copies the entire text of the elemental trigger. So if you play something like Arid Stormer, it is going to require that you played an elemental the previous turn. Usually it will come up because the last battle cry you played. But if you took a turn off and you're copying an elemental check, it will check, and then it doesn't satisfy the next elemental chain because it's a beast. So if you play this with the turn after Arid Stormer, this becomes a 3/3 Rush Wind Fury. It's fine. It's going to be good with Forgeborn, but at a certain point, you're so high on battle cries and so low on actual elementals that it just kind of doesn't matter. And I wonder if we're going to have room for this.
Also, one thing that ends up happening with copying the discounted elemental is a lot of times what happens is you start drawing these discounted elementals, but you're only drawing one at a time, so it doesn't matter how cheap it is. So, copying that battle cry, while can be effective if this is the second discount, once you start getting into third and fourth discounts, it's not even really that beneficial to you because you don't have enough card draw.
Yep.
So I'm kind of glad we're not in a slower, controlling meta with this card, because this would be Cthulhu or Yashraj or Nazoth numbers 2 and 3 otherwise, and that would be very silly.
Yeah.
So look forward to that if we ever slow down before those rotate. Seems unlikely.
Someday. But there's no way to get this in Warrior, right? We can't use a second Juggernaut, no. And doubling Brucon doesn't matter.
Nope.
Let's talk Warlock, because Warlock's got a couple cards here.
We have 1 mana Wicked Shipment. It's a spell, tradable. Summon 2 1/1 imps. Upgrades by 2 when traded. I really like this whole upgrades when traded idea. It's very interesting. Makes the trade-off more interesting. But it's pretty good on rate, potentially. Like, just make a couple of 1/1s in a pinch? I don't know. We haven't had Zoo for a while. I don't know if, like, this is really putting us there.
It's a lot of stuff. I don't know. I look at these cards and, like, there are 2 Warlock cards that were revealed. This one is very clearly supposed to be a Zoo card. I am unconvinced that this is enough to get us over the line. It's a bunch of 1/1s. Yay.
I think if it upgraded stats-wise, I think it would be better.
I mean, maybe we play this with Shady Bartender, but I don't know, it just feels so slow.
I mean, it's like a Lost in the jungle, though.
Yeah.
Just like, if you get rid of the trading part, it's Lost in the jungle. And then
Would Lost in the Jungle be good now, though?
I mean, Lost in the Jungle is also generally only good when you're doing Silverhand Recruit type buffs and stuff, or cheap minions matter. So probably doesn't work out. But I mean, having a baseline of Lost in the Jungle is still pretty good, even if it might not end up mattering in this type of format.
This card could be good enough. It could be. It just needs other support, right?
So we do have Volpertinger, which is effectively turn 1, same deal. So I think the card definitely has potential. It is very runnable. It's like a good deal, but it's just a matter of, can Zoo position itself to close out games? We still don't really have burn for Zoo. Unless it's the quest version, in which case you're kind of mixing, synergies there.
Wolpertinger would be a lot worse if the Hunter Hero Power hit your own face. Right? Like,
yes.
Wolpertinger is useful because the deck has a way to finish games by hitting the other hero when minions are dead. Warlock doesn't really do that, so there has to be a really significant board presence or some way to provide reach, and the way that Zoo got reach early on was with the Demon Seed, and then they nerfed it a bunch of times, along with Flesh Giant, and we're not doing that anymore. And this other Warlock card, I think it's a very good card. I don't think it's a Zoo card. Shadowbleed Slinger, 1 mana, 2/1 Pirate, Warlock Pirate. Battlecry, if you've taken damage this turn, deal that much damage to an enemy minion. Yes, it looks like Prize Plunderer. No, this does not go in your Zoo deck. This goes in your Handlock deck. I put this in your Handlock deck, because when you play this with Raised Dead, it is unbelievable. It is super duper good with Raised Dead. It's better than Mortal Coil, which we're already playing. We cut the Mortal Coil.
Well, hang on. What if we start going back to the Zoo Quest Warlocks?
Why?
Well, because so then you're running these aggressive cards, and now we've got something that helps us fight for board even better with the Slinger.
But why not just do the current Handlock and then put the Prize Plunder in it?
Well, because then, I mean, yeah, do that too. But if you're wanting to play something more aggressive, like the curves where you got the 2 mana 2/5 that hits you whenever it attacks, like those activated your quest pretty quickly and let you be very aggressive and fight for board. So I wonder if we might be able to go in that direction.
Maybe. I envision a lot of people trying it and then losing to a board clear into damage. Because your rough matchup as that Zoo deck is Quest Mage. This does not solve the Quest Mage problem. We're not looking at removing minions in that matchup. So I foresee this being really useful for early game Handlock. That's where I see this being really valuable. But I am less convinced that this makes an aggressive strategy more viable, because our issue there isn't removing board. Our issue there is how many decks can kill us despite us having the board. And also, there's some cards here in the Warrior section that maybe you don't want to see as an aggressive Warlock.
You want to talk about beating Quest Mage? I personally believe that this next card is the best card that has been revealed so far. Defias Cannoneer, 3 mana 3/3 Pirate, very key. After your hero attacks, deal 2 damage to a random enemy twice. This can go face. This is nuts. This card is really good. This card is going to do a ton of damage and is going to control the board a lot, and as a pirate, goes in the pirate deck. both of these warrior cards I think are quite good, but this one takes the cake as very, very good in my eyes. The only issue I see is that it's going to be very difficult for the pirate deck to have a weapon going into the turn that you play this, because obviously you're going to already want a weapon equipped when you play this so that you swing and get the effect right away. But I mean, even if not, like, a lot of cards obviously would be broken if that were the case, but this is a immediate must kill, or your opponent probably loses the game, or you lose the game if they have it. Whatever.
It's obviously great if you can equip a weapon and like play this, but if you just go pirate on 2, cannoneer on 3, and then you have that curve with the one that reduces the cost of your next weapon, and you play that on 4, now your 4-mana weapon costs 3, and you swing with it, get 2 shots.
Okay, if our 3-mana 3/3 lives on board, then yes, that's good for us. This is pretty ambitious, isn't it? Just playing this on 3?
But there's going to be times where it's the only pirate you can throw down, and...
I'm not saying we don't play it. I'm saying I'm not going to plan on this living. This looks like a 5-drop to me that I will tempo out on 3. If I play it the turn after Sword Eater, or I scamp into it the turn after Sword Eater, and then play like Voxel Freebooter or whatever with this, it's a lot of cannonballs. It's a lot of balls, right? And so, like, I think that's cool. The idea of this sticking seems really optimistic a lot of the time.
I legitimately think you consider adding Gnarg to your deck because this card is so good.
Our turn 1 is kind of spoken for. With the quest.
You just play the quest on turn 2. It doesn't affect.
Is this worth skipping your turn 1 and turn 2? I guess if we have another 1-drop pirate that we can play, that's fine, but it feels like a pretty big compromise.
I'm not sure if we add Gnarg to the aggressive quest pirate warriors, but I think you do maybe explore non-quest aggressive warriors, because certainly just playing Gnarg on 1 and being able to swing with a fiery war axe with the cannoneer on 3 is going to be extremely powerful.
7 damage. Just from nowhere. It's
brutal.
A
lot. If you can get that draw, that is the Trog Golem equivalent, right? Like, that's a lot. That's a bunch of stuff going on here. You can do Language Hacker saying in chat, Whetstone, Man-at-Arms, Cannoneer. Yes, and then you wake up from the dream. But, like, it'd be nice. I envision this being a somewhat awkward must-kill from the opponent. Something like an Oracle of Elune. And that's a pretty powerful card. That's something that's pretty high up there, so we view this as a powerful card, but there are a lot of games where we play Oracle of Elune on 3, and then it's dead. It was worth it. They had to go out of their way to kill it. It's another thing they have to do. But if they had the removal, it's a 3-mana 3/3. So, we run this card. 100% we run this card. Is it the best card we've seen so far? I'm not as sure. I think that the Taunt Druid card actively makes the deck better in a meaningful, appreciable way right away. Whereas this rewards a lot of situations where we're ahead and allows us to swing a couple situations we're a little bit far behind, but I don't think is quite as meaningfully impactful right away. Still good. Still a good card.
Strongly disagree.
I think anything adding to the density of pirates in the deck is pretty strong.
It's a good card.
I think to really have the aggressive quest pirate decks pop off, having another 1 or 2 mana pirate could really make things insane. But there's definitely situations where you complete the quest, so you're always going to have a weapon to swing with. This can mitigate some of the weapon low rolls, because you could still get an extra 4 damage in addition to the 1 from the weapon that you got.
I think it's a good card. I think we play it in Pyro Warrior. This other card, I think, sees play as well. Probably not an aggressive Pirate Warrior, but it's very good. Man the Cannons, 2 mana. Spell. Deal 3 damage to a minion and 1 damage to all other minions. This is not targeted for just your enemy. It's not a swipe. It's a whirlwind that one thing takes more. Yeah. That zoo deck that we were talking about? Not so much. But, it's kind of an Awaken in a way, if you remember from Galakron Warrior, kind of, sort of. And Warrior has a lot of removal spells and a lot of different ways to kill a bunch of different stuff, and this is a cool different way to do that I imagine we'll see some play if we're dealing with some really significant go-wide decks with 1 health.
Does the 2-mana deal 5 damage spell, does that rotate, or is it going to rotate with this card?
I believe that's from last year, but let me...
Yeah, so this will be a really good replacement for Minefield when that card leaves.
Yep, that's from Darkmoon Fair.
You might also run it in Conjecture with it, just because the effect is quite strong.
It's interesting. It's a very different card, and I feel like depending on what minions people are playing, you might use one or the other. Like, Minefield has the advantage of you can use it as a 2-mana to remove something as large as a 5/5. This obviously has the advantage of it, you're certain about where the damage goes, so you can make sure to remove a whole bunch of small things. I don't know that there's space for both of them in a warrior, just because it is typically sort of smaller stuff removal, but it's a good rate.
This also triggers all your own frenzy minions, so if we want to build a frenzy warrior, we put this in the deck.
It does indeed.
Yep. So this is how your Warsong envoys or whatever, this is how those trigger. Your whirling combatants could end up being a lot of damage to a lot of different things. There are ways to make this work if frenzy is relevant and you need to find a way to make stuff trigger. If you need to trigger your own Crush, you need to trigger your own Anchorman, though Anchorman, in my experience, has not had too much trouble triggering. But there are frenzy cards that you want to activate. This seems to be custom built to make sure that they happen. So I have been impressed by the power of Sourfang bringing back some frenzy cards, and I could easily see this being in a deck that intends to play some minions that want to take a small amount of damage, but not a big amount of damage, like your Toraho Braves, something like that. Still a little ambitious, but could easily end up in a situation where you have a big thing and a board of small things, and then you want to kill, like if you're against a Greybow or whatever, you kill all the small things first with the mana cannons, then the frenzy triggers and kills the Greybow. Like, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, we have one final card. I know Bot's a little hungry, ready for dinner. You're probably not having crab, though. This last card...
What a hilarious card.
...is gonna be a little familiar. We used to have a card called Galaka Crawler that was a 2-mana 2/3 beast that ate a pirate and got +1/+1. This is a 3-mana 2/3 pirate. Battle Cry, destroy a beast, and gain +1/+1. Galaka Glutton. So it's slightly nerfed in terms of power level for a tech card, but I'm honestly surprised they brought back the destroy a minion type tech card at all.
Much like the crab, this seems like it's designed mostly for flavor. However, this is very good against Moonfang. That would be kind of devastating. Very good against Teacher's Pet, I suppose. I don't expect us to see a lot of play in Standard, but also the flavor and thematics of this card are awesome. And the text of this card is an abomination, and they shouldn't have done it. But I love the callback of, it was a crab that ate pirates, and now it's a pirate that's eating the crab.
I'm gonna eat all your Druid of the Reefs. Eat them all up.
Is that even... I guess that's a good deal.
It's not a great deal. It is a deal you could take, though.
Yeah. Like, maybe you hit a Park Panther with this. I'm trying to think of beasts that are in Standard. How do they print hate cards for the Hunter Rat deck when that deck doesn't even work? Like, why is... They are so half-hearted about making a Hunter Rat deck, Hunter Beast deck work, that they print a hate card for it in the same set where they give it a 5-mana 3/2.
Well, now hold on. There's a bunch of beasts that they just made in the form of all these macaws. So,
Oh yeah, I
or-
can't wait to eat a Gray Sage Parrot. Just eat your 8-drop. Nom 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 nom.
Yeah,
Except that
because
I'm
that's
dead
the
because
important part of Gray Sage Parrot. That's
Well,
what happens.
Sunwing Squawker, the Paladin one, like that's often gonna be something you're gonna want to eat. So it's certainly possible that this will see play, and they just made a whole bunch of beasts, and there may be a few more coming.
If we land in a situation where this is good enough to see play, something has gone wrong and I won't be happy about it, and you're going to hear about it on this very podcast. Because this is not the kind of card that I want to ever be rewarded. It is super duper narrow, devastating when it works, dead card when it doesn't, a 3-mana 2/3. If it's just a blank text, it's not useful. So I really like the flavor. I would have enjoyed this as a meme card in April Fool's joke or like a Photoshop. The fact that it's going to actually be in the game concerns me, because if this is ever good, it's going to create a very poor gameplay experience.
And that wraps it up. Yeah,
Are the legends
we made
true?
it through the 16 cards.
My
we
goodness.
gotta hurry. We only have 10 minutes for outro.
Oh, don't you worry, buddy. Don't you worry. So, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at coincede.com. You can find our content info, our show notes, and our patron information. You can support our show financially at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats and our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/coinconcede. It's like some CC swag. Heading over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Doge DK, Proby1, Crush, Cat, Beef, Squatch, David P, Snowpack, Lucky, Fade to Black, Walu, and Itinerant Wizard. Shoutouts, Coin Concedes. Got a bunch of first-time chatters in the chat. Doge and Crush, thank you so much for the subs. And then I've got a whole bunch of Coin Concedes here, but Btag, why don't you go first?
I would like to coin concede to Incrediplum, one of our patrons, and I got to do my first ever Path of Exile coaching, and
Ooh.
it was so much fun to put that together and help him out with that. I enjoyed it so much. If anybody else wants Path of Exile coaching, happy to do it. The new league just came out this weekend, so he said he was playing it. Didn't really have anything he wanted to work on in Hearthstone, so I put together a whole thing because Path of Exile is an extraordinarily in-depth game. There is absolutely so much information to teach people. I had a blast, honestly, expanding all of this information that took me a very, very long time to learn all of it, and I was happy that I could be of some help.
Do you like the new league mechanic?
I think it's fine. I don't think it's exceptional, but I've been super busy with the Burning Crusade, and the fact that I haven't switched over to playing PoE full time probably means the mechanic isn't super great, but I think it's a fine mechanic. I'm
Better
still
than Heist, but
log
worse than
over to
Harvest?
played it. I mean, nothing's gonna measure up to Harvest ever again, I don't think. And everything is better than Heist, so...
Well, there we go. We've set the boundaries.
Yeah, we definitely have our boundaries, so... just thanks for requesting that, and if anybody else has interesting coaching sessions that they want to ask about, I am more than happy to try to oblige, because I've had a Slay the Spire coaching and a PoE coaching, and it's just been really enjoyable. Also, still happy to do Hearthstone coachings too. Those are good too.
The gamer show's about. Yeah, I mean, I've done some coachings on other games as well. Done a few Hades coachings, so it's been fun. Advice, Coin Concedes, let's go.
So my first one is to the Roguebook team. A while back, I had asked people to help me out in terms of upvoting some designs I submitted for the Roguebook game. We were designing a card for each of the 4 characters in that game, and I made it as like a finalist, I guess you could say. I made it into the top 8. So I came in at number 6. Didn't win the Black Lotus, but it was still really cool to hear them talk about my cards. I tweeted it out along with a link to the YouTube video where they talk about everyone's designs, and it goes to exactly the timestamp of where they're talking about my cards. So that was really cool as someone who's still kind of practicing design when it comes to cards. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that to the Roguebook team, which includes Richard Garfield, by the way. That's part of why it was so cool.
The guy that made Magic. That guy.
Yeah, that guy. And several other card games. It's kind of his thing.
Yes.
And then also Concede to Blizzard for the Mercenaries enormous box that they sent me, including a jacket, the hat I'm wearing that has the Hearthstone logo on the other side, and a few more pint glasses that my wife is, wondering what we're gonna do with all these Hearthstone related glasses we now have. But I think there was a dice bag in there as well. Just really cool stuff, and it's always fun to, get cool swag and appreciation. So,
yay! I would also like to concede to Blizzard and to Tesh for Fabio put together the interview for us for the Duels episode in under 24 hours, which is a new thing for me. He just said, "Hey, can we do tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah, we can. Let's do it." So we did it. So thank you so much, Tesh, for doing that, and Blizzard for Fabio for making that happen. Deck Tech for being just the best communicator the game has had in a while, in terms of just keeping people up to date on patch notes and clarification and whatever. He's been communicating a ton. I've been very impressed with it. The Twitter universe put some energy out there recently for an open community manager position that I would like to have. And I asked for social engagement, and the Hearthstone Twitter community delivered quite a bit of engagement there. So thank you so much, everyone there. I will keep you all updated if there is news to be had there on next steps, but that's going to be a while, I think, if anything happens there. And also, yeah, for those of you that were watching live last week, that phone call that I had to step away from the show from and where I didn't know how to use a mute button, my phone said Blizzard Entertainment on it, so I picked it up. That's what happened. And I meant to mute, but I didn't. So, And also, Inscription, coin concede to you for being a dope game. So, yeah. I think that's going to do it for our show this week. So, keep calm. Play your pirate on 3. Hope it lives. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All right. Stopping recording. Thank you all, everyone, so much for being here. Appreciate you. And I'm going to change the stream settings for next week because we're doing 1080-60, and I guess for the last couple weeks we just haven't gotten transcoding options, so I'm going to kick that down because I don't think that we need to be 1080-60 for the podcast. So just be aware that it might look slightly different next week, but hopefully it'll be a lot easier to buffer, especially on mobile and Wi-Fi connections, because that's feedback I got from a couple people. I guess transcoding just... For affiliates, it happens sometimes, but not all the time, and I would like for people to be able to watch the show all the time. So we're going to work on that. So thanks to everyone that shared that feedback with us. Yeah. All right. Going to take the stream down. See you all later. Bye.
Good night, everyone.